Hello again, it's Mrs. Hoekstra. Here we are in Module 2, Lesson 6 on page 42. Lesson 6 says it's the distance between two rational numbers. Well, exercise 1 here on this page says that we're going to have to play a game between us and another person. So we're going to do that in class. So we're going to skip over page 42 and jump in on page 43. All right, what is the distance between 0 and -8? So literally jump from 0 all the way to -8. Now, if you want, you could do all the little bunny hops. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? It is 8. I did 8 bunny hops. Well, what if I went from -2 to -1 1/2, right? -1 1/2 is like right there. How far is that little bunny hop? Well, it's a half a bunny hop, right? I only had to go halfway between the two numbers. And let's take a look at letter C. What's the distance between -6 and -10? -6 all the way to -10, right? If we do the short little bunny hops or if we just count all the spots, we find that that is 4, right? That arrow is 4 long. Well, what if we wanted to find another way other than using the number line? Well, let's start with the number line and figure out if we can find a shortcut, right? I don't want to always have to use a number line. I'm not going to carry a number line with me everywhere I go. So let's take the distance between -3 and 2. So start at one of those endpoints. I'm going to start at -3. Start at -3. All right, so I'm going to start right here. There we are, -3. And I want to go all the way to 2. So we can bunny hop our way over. We could do one big jump. I think I'm going to bunny hop my way over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Because I want to stop here. I had 5 little bunny hops, right? 5 little spots right there. Well, wouldn't it be nice to be able to use a formula of some form? So what I'm going to do is use an absolute value, because absolute value is the distance, and it's always positive. So I started at -3, and I'm going to take the difference, right? I'm going to take the difference of these two numbers. Well, difference tells me to subtract. So I'm going to subtract, and then what's my other number? 2. Okay, I'm going to take the difference of the distance. Well, when I have a subtraction like this, I'm going to rewrite it as -3 because I can't do anything with that, but I don't like to subtract. I'm going to turn that into an addition plus -2. Subtraction means add the opposite. The opposite of +2 is -2, so I'm going to add -2. Well, what's -3 plus -2? It's -5. And the absolute value of -5 is 5. And sure enough, that's the exact answer I had when I bunny hopped and counted my way there. Well, I think it would be a lot easier if we just did it this way. So what we're going to do is we're going to write a rule. The rule says that the distance found is the absolute value of P minus Q, where P is the first number and Q is the second number. Right? We have the first number and we have a second number. We're just going to take the difference of them. We're going to subtract them. Well, that being the case, let's actually go back up to the top of the page and let's see if it actually does work. We already know what the answer is. Let's see if we're really right. All right. So starting with my first number, take 0 minus, and it says -8. Well, subtraction means add the opposite. So 0 plus, what's the opposite of -8? +8. So the absolute value is 8, which equals just 8. And yep, that's what we had a minute ago. Let's try it again. Let's try it with our other numbers. What if we work with rational numbers instead of whole numbers or whole integers? So we're going to take the absolute value of -2 and take the difference to -1 1/2. Again, I don't like that subtraction. Subtraction means to add the opposite. So I'm going to have -2 plus, and what's the opposite of -1 1/2? +1 1/2. The two signs are different, so I'm actually going to subtract them. And 2 is bigger than 1/2. So this becomes the absolute value of -1 1/2, which equals just 1/2. And sure enough, that is what we had. Let's try it for C. C says start with -6. So the absolute value of -6 subtract negative 10. I cannot subtract, I don't like to. So negative 6 plus, add the opposite of negative 10, which is positive 10. Which one's bigger? Well, 10 is bigger. So I'm going to subtract 10 minus 6 is 4. And since 10 is larger, that's positive. So the answer is positive 4. There we go. Okay, so it's a lot easier to use that shortcut than it is to use a number line. All right, so it is faster to actually just subtract them. Let's try example 2, shall we? Page 44. Distance is positive. Change in elevation or temperature may be positive or negative depending on whether it's increasing or decreasing, right? Going up or down. So let's take a look. A hiker starts hiking at the beginning of a trail at the point that is 200 feet below sea level. He hikes to a location on a trail that is 580 feet above sea level and stops for lunch. All right? So what is the vertical distance between the 200 feet below sea level and the 580 feet above sea level? In other words, what was his change in elevation? Okay, he started way down here, right, at negative 200 feet, and he ends up way up here at 580 feet. So maybe you do want to use the number line. I don't know. I'm going to use my shortcut that I just had a minute ago, though. So the absolute value of negative 200, because he's below sea level, I'm going to find the difference of that, and it's 580 above sea level. Well, it's not a negative number because it's above sea level. So again, don't like to subtract. So the absolute value of negative 200 plus negative 580. All right, well, since I'm adding and they're both the same sign, that makes life easy because I literally can just add them. And the absolute value of negative 780. The absolute value of negative 780 is 780 feet, right? So he has traveled 780 feet in elevation. How should we interpret 780 feet in the context of this problem, right? The hiker traveled 780 feet from the beginning location, from his starting point below sea level. He traveled 780 feet from a point below sea level. Because he didn't start at sea level and travel 700. He's not 780 feet above the sea, right? He's 780 feet from where he started. After lunch, the hiker hiked back down the trail from the point of elevation, which is 580 feet above sea level, to the beginning of the trail, which is 200 feet below sea level. What's the vertical distance between these two? All right, so this time we're going to redo it, but he's starting at the top of the trail, right? So we're starting at 580, and we're going to subtract negative 200, all right, because we're going below sea level. So we have the absolute value of 580. Subtraction means add the opposite, so I'm going to add 200. And when I add these two whole numbers, it's 780. And what's the absolute value of 780? It is 780 feet, right? So what's the change in elevation? It's 780 feet. He just came down the mountain, right, versus going up the mountain. All right. Exercise 3. We're going to do this one together. The distance between a negative number and a positive number is 12.5. What are the numbers? Okay. We have a negative number and a positive number, and the answer is 12.5. What are the numbers? Well, they could be just about anything. All right, they could be just about anything. So let's see. What if I had, I don't know. Let's say negative 2. I start here. I go from negative 2, and it's 12.5 away. So what if I added 10.5? What if I had negative 2 and 10.5? Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and a half, right? Would put me right there. They are 12 and a half apart. I could have another one, right? That's one example. Another example, I could have had, let's say, negative 9 and a half. I'm going to start right here. How could I get 12 and a half away from that? Well, I could do my half and then do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Those two are 12 and a half apart, right? Those are just two possibilities. It really could vary. We could use lots of different numbers as possible ends. Those are just the two that I picked. Well, what I want you to do now is I actually want you to pause the video and I want you to do exercise 4, A, B, C, and then yes, flip it over. There's a D and an E on the other side of the page. I want you to pause and do all of these on your own. Try it on your own. You still waiting for me to do it? You have to do A through, what did I say? E. A through E on your own. Go ahead and hit pause. I'm going to hit pause right now. Watch, see? Okay, so here's my answer for A. I ended up getting 3. All right, see how I did it? Notice what you did. If you don't have the same answer as me, go ahead, pause, and take a look at what you have and what I have. Otherwise, let's go on to part B. For part B, I got it was 33 degrees and change, right? It was negative 18 in the morning. It rose up to 15 degrees. It was a 33-degree change in the temperature. Again, if you have the same answer as me, great, keep on going. If not, hit pause and fix your answers. For part C, would it be different? Would we get a different answer if we went from 15 degrees and the temperature dropped, right? It was 15 degrees when you went to bed, you woke up in the morning, it was negative 18. Yeah, it was still a 33-degree change. It just was, getting colder. But no, the difference is still the same. We're still getting 33 degrees. All right, next page. We have our 2 racers. One finishes 15 feet beyond the finish line and looks back and realizes Jeremy is 14 feet behind the line. How much further ahead, right? What was the distance between them? So when I figured it out, it was 29 feet. Again, if you have the same answer, great. If not, pause and fix your answers. And then for part E, what is the change in elevation from 140 feet above sea level to 40 feet below sea level, right? You're in a airplane, you skydive and you land into the water and you dive into the water and go deep just in a scuba suit or something because you're in the Navy SEALs or something like that, right? So you would have a change in elevation of 180 feet. All right, well, there's a summary at the bottom of the page. We're going to hit that together in class as well. So hang on, wait for that. We will hit this summary together. Hope you guys understood this. If not, come to class with questions for me. Thanks. See you guys later.